Good evening, Mr. Larry Gaines.
What's going on? How are you?
Out of energy, but if anyone knows me and follows me on Instagram, you know why. Welcome to Midnight Vibes, ladies and gentlemen. Season 2 episode. I'll put the number down at the end of the episode. I forgot what number it is right now, but we're going almost to the season finale, ladies and gentlemen. We're closing around that right now. But how was your week, Mr. Larry Gaines?
Well, I have had a busy week, and yesterday actually put the icing on the cake. I went to a wine and spirit festival, wine tasting, and
Nice.
for like 3 hours straight. Needless to say that I woke up feeling a little different today.
Oh, of
So,
course.
if anybody can, bring this thing to a close, it would be you. So, I'm here after all of that.
Let's go. Let's go. And by the way, if anyone comes down here for the Bacardi Festival, same thing happens. You have a nice little make your own mixology class, which means you can pour as much stuff as you want. But
Oh, that's dope.
let's go.
When is
Now,
that?
huh?
When is that festival?
No, I'm sorry, not Bacardi Festival. Bacardi Rum Museum Tour. My
Uh,
apologies. Bacardi Rum Museum Tour. Come over here. You pay a couple of money. Go on a nice little choo-choo train ride, and then they drop you off and make your own mix. They
ah,
teach you how to make it, and then you can make it. So it's something like my friend, shout out the one that he made it. He's like, I got drunk off that real quick. I'm like, yeah, because they're just like, here's the bottle, here's the ingredients, have
go to,
fun,
right, right.
go to town, and you're like,
Hmm.
But my week is what was consistent of cleaning the house, taking care of business, waiting for my girlfriend to come here, making breakfast, lunch, and dinner for her because I love making food, and spending time with my family. But again, this particular freaking midnight vibes is going to be weird on left side and on the right side. And I'm not talking about politics here, motherfuckers. I'm talking about New York is a movie and top 10 serial killers. And we're going to start off with the top 10 serial killers because, again, we have 10
Hmm.
picked by Laren. And we're going to talk about the general information of every single one. And 6 out of 10 of them are videos. You can pick which one you want. Now, let's start off with the first one, Mr. Laren Gaines. The floor is yours, and you have the first name up. Let's go.
Okay, so we're gonna go with Ted Bundy. So Ted Bundy is known for being very charismatic, and of course, he confessed to, I think I would believe it is about 30 murders in the 1970s. So yeah, that's Ted Bundy. When I used to do research and look him up, just fascinated by how many women actually flocked to him after the confessions
Yep.
and would visit him in prison. And I believe one was even impregnated. Craziness.
Now, you would think it's craziness, but you know that even people now, they flock to the media. They flock to be like, I can change him. I can make him better. Like all, not even women, like all people do, thinking when they see broken toys. I think I can fix it. I can fix it. But ladies and gentlemen, we are just not talking about Tim Bucky. We're showing you a different videos. And I remember this. I remember this clip. This is a witness account of the one that got away.
He goes, take your hat off. And I said, what do you mean take my hat off? I took my hat off and he saw that something was different about me. And he goes, why did you cut your hair? I keep thinking, did he stalk me? Did he see me somewhere? Was he waiting for me or was he watching me? He says, well, put that hat back on. And then he said, shut the up. And he's yelling at me, you're never going to make it. He could have killed me. It was just thank God I had gotten my hair cut that I probably wouldn't be talking to you today. I knew 100% that was the guy, yeah.
Oh God! Thank God I had gotten my hair cut. That's
Yeah, guess he didn't like women with short hair or something. That was
so
crazy.
thinking about that, how would like just knowing that that woman got away because of just the haircut. That's the only reason. 30 other women did it, but she did.
Again, it's very puzzling. And he escaped prison, I believe, at least twice
Yeah, of
after
course. It's the
being locked
70s.
up.
Everyone escaped prison in the 70s. It's the 70s.
Yeah.
God. Number two, Mr. Larry Gaines.
This one is very strange. John Wayne Gacy. This is where we get our killer clowns from. So he dressed up as a clown and he did a lot of kids' parties and was well known in his neighborhood. Everybody liked him. He was the clown, but he's known for killing at least 33 teenage boys and young men. He had his own construction business, so he used to hire them to do work for him. And then when they would ask him about his paycheck, a couple of them, you know what happened after that.
Of
And
course.
what was weird about him is that he was married and he did all of this stuff while his wife was still in the house. And she eventually caught him and she ended up divorcing him and leaving at that time. But he buried a lot of them underneath his house in a crawl space. And the neighbor would complain that there was a foul odor or foul smell coming from his house, and he would get lime and he would constantly be pouring a bunch of lime down all around his property. But yeah, a couple of his neighbors had a fit and said, I'm going to call the authorities because something's not right. And I think that's how he actually got caught, because one of the neighbors got tired of the smell and went fishing underneath his crawl space and found something, and then it was a wrap from there.
Yeah. Now, reference to the movie In the Cut with Meg Ryan and Ruffalo. There was a character in there that he had to do an essay, and he picked John Wayne Gacy. And that, just look it up, Larry Gaines, and everyone in the world who gets a chance. My girlfriend who's watching, I love you, girl, has watched the movie In the Cut, uncensored version, by the way. Very not the same as the book. There's a book too called In the Cut. So now I think this is a clip of John Wayne Gacy. So here we go.
This is why you should always trust your gut. In the early 1970s, a college student decided to hitchhike his way home after class. A car pulls up, a man offers him a ride, and he climbs in. As soon as the car started moving, the student felt totally uneasy, like something was wrong but he couldn't quite place it. Without saying anything, he waited till the next time they slowed down and he flung the door open and ran away. 2 years later, he's flicking through TV channels when he comes across this special interview with a death row inmate. And it's just the audio recording, so he hears the interviewer ask the inmate, "Why did you remove all the door handles inside of your car?" The man just goes, "Well, the first time I tried to kill someone, I picked up a college hitchhiker who got smart at some point and jumped out of my car. So, lesson learned, remove all the door handles." When they showed his picture, the student knew immediately that he was supposed to be the first victim of John Wayne Gacy, aka the Killer Clown, who had killed over 30 men and boys in his clown room and stuffed them into his basement.
Wow.
So that's John. That was John Wayne Gacy, if I'm correct. And see what I mean? Like, you see the general things, but in Midnight Vibes, you find a little bit more deeper than that. Now, moving on to number 3, someone that's been very famous recently.
Yeah, several movies made after him. I think at least 2 or 3. We're talking about Jeffrey Dahmer, serial killer and sex offender. He's responsible for the dismemberment of 17 men and boys between 1978 and 1991. When I used to do research on him, I realized that a lot of this stuff starts when people harm animals, pets. Jeffrey Dahmer's case has started with a cat. And this is very weird, but I had a friend who was dating somebody, and it started with a cat. And then next thing you know, they broke up. He got somebody else pregnant, and then the infant became a victim. But again, I had to tie the two together and realize that a lot of these issues, when it comes to these individuals, it starts with them harming pets first. And that's exactly what Jeffrey Dahmer did, and started keeping body parts of the animals first and skulls and this and that, and then it just transformed into humans.
Yeah. And again, they made a movie on him and romanticized him and everything else. And that's the problem with serial killers. Not only the fact that most of them were white, not because of that, not being racist here, just like a weird observation in life. Like, America is the greatest thing ever. America is the greatest in serial killers, if you want to go down that route. But that's only in American history. There's going to be a part 2 about this in the future. We're going to go not just in America. We're going to the world and seeing serial killers there because there's monsters. But wait, I do have a clip from Jeffrey Dahmer. Here we go.
Oldest sister of Errol Lindsay. Oldest sister of Errol Lindsay. Whatever your name is, Satan. I'm mad. This is how you act.
This is how you act when you are out of control.
I don't want to ever see my mother have to go through this again.
My mother go through this again.
Never, Jeffrey.
Jeffrey! I hate you, motherfucker! I hate you! This is out of control! Don't fuck with me, Jeffrey! I'll kill you, goddammit! Look at me! Look at me!
They did a really good job reenacting that.
Yeah.
Because I remember watching that on TV when this whole thing exploded. They did a really good job reenacting that.
And I want to say this was used for reaction purposes only. We did not own this. We're just showing this to show a reaction purpose only. Now, I've always been pissed off about the result of Jeffrey Dahmer dying only for the fact that they made him famous after the fact he died. And I say this why? Because, again, the person that in jail was his cellmate. He would mock him with all the things that he did, and he beat him to self-deletion. And I've always got pissed off at that. I'm like, just let him rot. You should have let him freaking rot and let him. But by doing that, you turned him into a martyr, which, again, we're going to go down the line.
And one thing about him. One thing about him that was strange is that he liked to turn his victims into zombies using acid, drilling holes in their head and pouring acid onto their brain. Strange. One of them got away. Yeah, one of them got away, and they turned around and sent him back. And the police were like, "Oh, okay, they're just having a gay lovers quarrel. Just send him back." Yeah. She's drunk.
And it's the 70s too. And it's the 70s, so you're like, whatever. It's just the gay thing, whatever. You know. Thank you. Thank you, Onyx Blade. I appreciate you passing by here. Love you, man. Now, on to the next one on the list. And this one's a very unique one. So please say number 4, please.
Yeah, the woman.
Say Eileen. Just say Eileen.
Eileen Wuornos, female serial killer. She murdered 7 men in Florida between 1989 and 1990. And there was a famous movie, The Monster, that actually was just called Monster. Portrayed, which I never saw, by the way. I really wasn't into. It's just weird. I guess it doesn't matter, but she was a woman, and when I think of serial killers, I really don't think of women as being serial killers. So I really wasn't into that.
Okay, I would say my review of it. It was a very good adaptation of Charlize, because Charlize Theron was in that movie too, so it was a very good adaptation of it. But the movie came out years after her deletion. Anyway, have a good night yourself, sir. It just let me just show you right here. I'll give you a second. See for yourself.
This is one of the last known images of A.loren Wuornos, the day before her execution. A.loren grew up with an incredibly unstable childhood. At the age of 14, one of her grandfather's friends raped and impregnated her. She gave up the child for adoption and dropped out of school. At 15, she was kicked out and resulted to SW to survive while living in some woods. At 18, she was arrested for DUI and firing a weapon out of a moving vehicle. In 76, she briefly married a yacht club president, but he got a restraining order just 4 weeks in. She continued committing petty crimes until her killing spree began at the end of 1981. Her first victim was 51-year-old Richard Mallory, a convicted rapist. He would go on to kill 6 more men in the span of a year. David Spears, Charles Karskinen, Peter Seams, Troy Burris, Charles Humphreys, and Walter Antonio. She would often change her stories as to why she killed these men. Sometimes it was self-defense, and other times it was in cold blood for some cash. There's no doubt, however, that A.loren Wuornos was mentally ill and mistreated her entire life. On October 9th, 2002, her last meal was a cup of coffee. Her last words were, quote, "Yes, I would just like to say I'm sailing with the Rock, and I'll be back like Independence Day with Jesus, June 6th like the movie. Big mothership and all, I'll be back, I'll be back."
Now, again, it was later talked about and speculated that she has personality disorder. Serious personality disorder. That's why in the movie Monster, they kind of portrayed it a little bit that she was sometimes happy and sometimes scared and sometimes crazy. And you are right. There's not a lot of female serial killers. There's not a lot. There are, if you go back in time, 1800s, 1900s down the line. But now, no. Someone else, they got romanticized. And I think it's the next one on the list.
Oh, yeah. This one's very famous.
Oh, yeah. That's the one. Yep.
Wait, maybe. Who is it?
It's number 5. It's number 5.
Oh, it is number 5. Okay, because I thought it was number 6. Okay.
No, number 5.
I'm not really sure about 5, but I don't know too much. But Richard Ramirez, known as the Night Stalker, terrorized people in California in the 1980s. A lot of this was in the 80s. That's very weird. Yeah. That's the year I was born. Committing series of brutal murders, sexual assaults, and burglaries. There is no number tied to this, so maybe you can fill us in on what you know about him.
Now, I'm gonna talk about my experience. We have a video of it, by the way. And I love this guy on YouTube. Is Morbid Facts. He has a whole bunch of things on that. Like, by the way, for example, no one talks about that Princess Diana's lover was in the car during her crash. No one does.
I heard about that. Yeah, I heard about that.
But no one talks about it. Everyone's like, "Oh, Princess Diana would die in the car crash." Yeah, her Egyptian lover was in the car crash too. But I digress. Richard Ramirez, Night Stalker, right after Son of Sam. Not the same person, by the way. In California during the 70s and 80s. There's a movie I saw. I have to find it. I'll tell you later what it is off camera. But it reminded me of Richard Ramirez. Now, American Horror Story did a season based on Friday the 13th and all that type of things. And Richard Ramirez was a main villain in that show. And they kind of wrote it off in a weird kind of like time loop way at the end of it all. But just like Jeffrey Dahmer, they romanticized him. They found an actor that looked just like him, but in a prettier 2010 version. And, people love that. So let's see the Morbid Facts of Richard Ramirez by the Morbid Facts YouTube, which I do not own, and these are all reactions.
Here are some morbid facts about Richard Ramirez. Like many other serial killers, Richard's childhood was far from pleasant. His father often physically abused him and would sometimes make him spend the night tied to a cross in a graveyard as a form of punishment. And when Richard was just 13, his cousin fatally shot his wife right in front of him. Ramirez was obsessed with satanic themes and symbols and would draw pentagrams on his victims' bodies. He would even force some of his victims to pray to Satan in their final moments instead of to God. In one of his interviews, Ramirez said, "When I die, I want to be buried with sunglasses on and my hands behind my head, so that when I deteriorate, I'll be the chillest skeleton in the graveyard." In 1996, a fan of Ramirez married him in prison after it was already proven he'd murdered 13 adults. But she broke up with him 12 years later when DNA evidence showed that he also killed a 9-year-old girl.
Another example of a person falling in love with somebody and then regretting it after the fact, finding out.
Wow.
Come on. I thought he died in the 80s. He lasted till 96. 96. So what's your thoughts on that? Again, that's a short version. He did a lot. They dropped him on his head around his teenage years, and because of that, he had really bad migraines and was suspected to have personality disorder as well. So that's another thing that he didn't say. Shout out to Morbid Facts. He didn't say that, but it's okay.
I mean, witnessing someone getting murdered, what his father did to him.
Mm-hmm.
None of this is excusable, but you can sort of see where some of this came from.
And then people are like, "Oh, you need fathers in the home." Well, Richard Ramirez had a father.
Right.
No one talks about that shit. No one ever talks about that shit. But we move on to number 6 on the list, which I think I have it here. I think that's the bonus. Oh, yeah, I don't have that one, but let's talk about him anyway.
Okay, so he's very famous. Ed Gein, he's portrayed as Norman Bates in Psycho because his mother did some weird things to him as a child, and also Leatherface. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is loosely based on the story of Ed Gein. Ed Gein did some weird things such as digging up corpse and then taking the body parts. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they did a spin on it and they did it a little different, but as far as wearing the mask and stuff like that, Ed Gein didn't necessarily wear the mask, but he would make the lampshades and just hang body parts around his home. So that's where the whole Leatherface and Texas Chainsaw Massacre came from. But a lot of it came from things that his mother did to him.
And it's I've heard about Ed Gein. Again, there's a lot of movies I saw in the 90s where they try to emulate that. And it's just, these are people that either had mothers who were super religious, who grew up abused, and single mothers. So they thought in their minds it was the perfect thing to do. So it goes both ways. You can have a single father household, single mother household, a nuclear family household. It just depends on how the other person was raised and how they can be responsible with a child. Number 7 is I thought he was a guitarist, but apparently not.
Albert Fish.
Yes.
American serial killer and cannibal, another one. Responsible for the murder and consumption of young children in the early 20th century.
Now, video.
These are some of the dumbest ways the serial killers were caught. This is going to be a series, so follow for more. Albert Fish was also known as the Grey Man, the Werewolf of Wisteria, or the Brooklyn Vampire. He was known for his murder, rape, and even cannibalism. He claimed to have killed over 100 people, but he was suspected in 5 murders and he admitted to 3. His downfall came when he wrote a letter to one of his victim's mother. The letter wrote in detail about how he caught, killed, and even consumed her daughter. The one mistake that Albert did, which finally led to the police catching him, was put this letter in an envelope that belonged to the boarding house that he was staying in. The police traced it back to the emblem and Fish was caught.
There you go.
Wow.
Sometimes
Terrible.
it's the small details that get you. And I'm glad someone got them, honestly. All right. Last 3, Mr. Larry Gaines.
We have H.H. Holmes, an American serial killer known for constructing a murder castle. And this was in Chicago, where he lured and murdered numerous victims during the late 19th century. So I guess you're a real live haunted house.
Okay. That's when you said H.H. Holmes, I thought it was Triple H the wrestler. But I was like, no, that can't be him. That's Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
You know what? I am so done with you. I guess we needed that laugh after talking about all of this.
We're talking some morbid shit right here, Larry. We need to get some laughter in us. I tried to find evidence on the next one, number 9, Andre Chikatilo. But it was all in Europe, so it's all European talk. So I couldn't get it.
Yeah, thank you for that, because I couldn't pronounce that. The Soviet serial killer who committed a series of gruesome murders, primarily targeting children and young women in the 1980s and the 1990s. I guess a lot of these, when they target children, here we come with, the Freddy Krueger theme.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's where they got some of their ideas from, with some of these people here targeting children.
Yeah, that's what happens. It's sad. Like, again, the Pied Piper is a known. We should do that one day. A nice little like grim stories of how they really are. Because the Pied
Mhm.
Piper is dark. Like he didn't take those kids. Like he took those kids to do evil things.
And when they talked about that in school, they did not even get into half of it.
No, Cinderella, ladies and gentlemen, they got their feet cut off. That's a spoiler. That's for later in life. Number 10, Mr. Larry Gaines.
Jack the Ripper, the unidentified serial killer, terrorized London's Whitechapel district in the late 19th century, and he has never been identified.
Yeah. Here's the part though, that they've done movies on him. They've romanticized him. Speculation on one movie was that he was a professor in a university, so the university themselves kept it quiet that was one movie. I forgot what that movie was called, but they found out that it was him, and they kept it insular and quiet, so they lobotomized him so that he couldn't do it anymore. That's why the killing stopped abruptly. Mm-hmm. Another person was that he was a prince, and it was one of the queen's sons. Another theory that it was an actual doctor. Maybe another theory that it was an actual hooker, priest, Protestant. There were so many theories, but like you said, there is no definitive answer because it was the 1800s. He was killing hookers and no one cared until it got too much, even for them. Even the police chiefs needed to get some hookers in life. But that, ladies and gentlemen, your final thoughts on top 10 serial killers, Mr. Larry Gaines.
I've always studied them, which I don't know why. Don't know why. But I've studied a lot of these, and there's tons of movies out there if anybody's interested. Jeffrey Dahmer has at least 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. Ted Bundy has several documentaries and a movie. Ed Gein even has one as well. So they're out there.
It's too damn out there, ridiculous. At the same time, the second person watching, enjoying life, Mr. Larry Gaines. My final thoughts are as follows. Again, these are just American, one Russian and one British serial killers. If we go deep, and I mean deep into the history and lore, we can find more. So there's going to be a part 2 of this. What shocks me is that, like I said before, single family households, nuclear family households, growing up as a doctor, growing up as it doesn't matter. Environment, trauma, life can make a serial killer. And then they can take a religion, an aspect of a thing that you think hold dear and just bastardize it and make it into worse. But the best thing about life is that not only is there bad things, but there are good things. Like something that Mr. Larry Gaines says once a week. And what is that, Mr. Larry Gaines?
It's time for music news, right?
Yes, as Marie Antoinette said, let them eat cake.
So this will be very short, but entertaining as well. So about 25 years ago, Cher released a song called Believe, and she changed pop music because it was the first pop song that became a hit song that actually used auto-tune. So ever since that, the music world has been crazy over using auto-tune. So you can go ahead and give that up to Cher for bringing auto-tune into the world. And I know y'all know that song Believe. I definitely like that too. Mr. Neil Young, he is coming up with a new album, hopefully before the end of this year. It's called Before and After. So for all of the Neil Young fans, this is going to be a treat because he's going to re-record some music and he's going to give you some oldies but goodies, but recorded in a new way. So that's a nice treat for the Neil Young fans. Next up, the Rolling Stones released an album Friday, and it was their first album in 18 years. first studio album in 18 years called Hackney Diamonds. And Hackney Diamonds features Paul McCartney, Stevie Wonder, Elton John, and Lady Gaga. The Rolling Stones and Lady Gaga just did a performance at the album release, and I heard it was amazing. So congratulations to the Rolling Stones and the fans. They're still out there doing it. Sad news. Miss Pink. She's not feeling well, and she had to cancel a bunch of shows starting in Canada for having an upper respiratory infection. So she's been on tour, and she's canceling a couple shows so that she can get well. So get well, Pink. And yeah, this is not the first time that she's done something like this. So whenever flu, cold season, you know, that C word comes around, she has to take very precaution, you know, around herself and her family. And ladies and gentlemen, that's music news.
Well, I feel bad for Pink. Obviously, I hope she feels better, and more than anything else, and to share, get that money. Now, before we continue, excuse me, before we continue, the movie that I was talking about is Nick Turturro and another guy called The Hillside Strangler, 2004.
I remember hearing about that. Never saw it, but I heard it.
Good fucking movie. Very low budget, but very it ramps. It ramps up. So I'm gonna tell everyone watching The Hillside Strangler 2004. I might watch it with my girlfriend soon. I remember that movie. It was very unique. Now, ladies and gentlemen, part 2 of Midnight Vibes, like as we always do. New York is a movie. Now, I'm not gonna do anything with this today because again, New York is a movie. Again, I was born in Southside Bronx. Shout out to Southside Bronx. And Mr. L Gaines is in New Jersey. And obviously, I'm not going to show you the dark side of New York. I'm not going to show you the violent side of New York. I'm not going to show you the racist side of New York. I'm not going to even show you the anti-anything side of New York. I'm going to show you the weird side of New York. Because I've realized that not even trying, anyone just goes down the street, takes out their phone, and finds this weird shit. So, for entertainment purposes only, you will see 5 clips. We will give our thoughts after the fact. All right. I have not seen them. Yes, Miss L Gaines.
I just saw something similar to this week, and I'm wondering if you're going to pick the same clip. So I will let you know towards the end.
Let's find out. I want to give a shout out to Blex TV, BLEX TV. That's on Instagram. I just found them out. They're usually very New York, New Jersey, and Upper New York. As my mom says, the second part of New York, Sherill, Buffalo. So I did not know my mom would say that. I'm like, that's the other, but that's New York too. I'm like, what the fuck is New York too? That's up there. I'm like, all right, whatever. So, Miss L Gaines, from 1 to 10, let's go. Give me a number, please.
Let's go with 5.
All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right.
This is New York. This is New York. Everybody late. Everybody.
Because you know, that's why you are late.
Everybody late. It's New York. You want to be on time, go to Jamaica and walk to work.
If I was there, I would have get there.
You're going to be late. That's it. You're going to be late.
I don't give a shit where I won't come from.
Don't be mad at him because you're late.
Not from Jamaica either, so you're talking from.
Wherever you from, you might be on time if you walk there.
I was talking to the driver.
But you're annoying me, so now I'm speaking on it.
I'm not near your fucking house.
It's fucking annoying.
Oh, I get you now. You live in your house?
You're a fucking car. You know what it is? You upset because you got a bullshit ass job. And you late to your bullshit ass job. You can't buy a car because you got a bullshit ass job. Don't be mad. Everybody else day up. Poor lady got a wheelchair. She got on the bus with a wheelchair. That's why the bus is late. You gonna be mad at that? Come on, get out of here. Ask your boss for a raise. You can buy a car, and you might have to take the fucking bus. I'm gonna probably get fired. I'm mad late. I don't even care. I'll get another job. I'm not gonna get mad at the bus driver. It's my fault. I should have been on the 12:10 instead of the 12:13 bus. That's my fault. That ain't his fault. Wake your ass up early. Put the fucking dumplings down.
As you saw there, what's your thoughts, Miss L Gaines?
Definitely spoke some facts, because when you or on a bus, it's a crapshoot. It is what it is. Like anything could happen, and usually they always go off on the bus drivers. And we've had some recent videos in the past couple years of people attacking bus drivers, and that's not cool at all.
That's not. That's not. And you're right. Like he even explained it. Like he stopped to pick up a freaking woman in a wheelchair, and we're late because of that. And the guy's like, I even as a joke, like I accept it. I'm gonna get fired, and I understand that shit. Like and what's really sad is that the Karen, because whatever her name is, she's a freaking Karen, is getting mad at the guy and won't get mad at the wheelchair because everyone will be like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like no one's gonna get mad at the woman in the wheelchair. It's just morally wrong to do that. So you get mad at the guy who just keeps snapping back at your ass.
Mm-hmm.
Don't piss the guy off. So, Miss Lemon Gaines, from 1 to 8.
All right, let's go with 3.
All right. 15-second clip. Here we go.
Look at this shit. My man got a whole living room right in front of my building. I'm so dead. I'm dead.
As you saw there, that actually happens. Even here in Puerto Rico, where a homeless guy's like, I got a TV. You know, so what's your thoughts on that, Mr. Lemon Gaines?
That's insane. I don't think I would be appreciating all of that in front of my building like that. But what can you do? That's part of it, right?
Like, and that's not gonna last forever. Like, some guys gonna be driving, like, oh shit, TV, that works. Give me the TV, run it. And again, he's homeless. He's homeless. He probably goes like to the back of a Target and just gets a TV anyway. I'll get it. It's cracked. Thank you. But that happens over here. I've seen hippies live under bridges that have tents and houses and tables and like the whole shebang. But then there's poop around the corner. Moving on from 1 to 6, Mr. Lemon Gaines. We're bringing down the numbers.
All right, let's go with 1.
20-second clip. Let's go.
No. I wouldn't be sitting there as calm as those people were because I don't want to be hit by anything. Because if you make a mistake and you hit me, that whole ride is going to be different. So, but they stuck there though.
They stuck there. Like the thing is, like first off, sanitary reasons. Put on gloves. 1, 2. Wear a cup because you just banging the floor. 3. Those pipes, those poles that good. If you're strong, do it. You should be in Chippendales. If you have actually no Chippendales is I've actually seen videos of Chippendales. They're very anyway. Do some pole dancing. You know.
I saw another clip like that. The dude was dressed in a Spider-Man outfit, except he was getting real close in them people's faces. He was like a professional, but still, you make one little slip up and hit somebody by accident, it's a wrap.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant the one that I saw that I downloaded. I uploaded one of my channels. It was called Spider Rican. But the guy was like, he came off a thing. He's like, oh, that's Spider-Man. It's like, no, dude, that's Spider Rican. The guy's like, yeah, that's right, cabron. He had a gun in his hand. Give me your money.
Oh no, this dude was on a train doing something, same things that dude was, but in a Spider-Man get up and but in people's faces, like he was doing all this on purpose, like in someone's face and not hitting them, but still, you make a mistake and it's a wrap.
In Bayamon in the north, there was a guy using a really long sheet, and then he was just doing like Cirque du Soleil in a Spider-Man outfit. You gotta get that money to get that crack. All right, 1 to 4.
All right, let's go with 4.
11-second clip. Let's go. I just wanted to show that for the fact that yes, they are ladies of the night or ladies of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Even here, the only time I see women wearing bikinis is like tourists going to Walmart and they didn't want to change. I've never seen a woman in a 90, never in my life, seen the woman on the left at like, that probably was like 11 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, in the morning. So your thoughts on that, Miss Larry Gaines?
It looked like they didn't even have shoes on.
They didn't have shoes on. One didn't.
They were
One
in
did
Brooklyn.
not.
They were in Brooklyn, so maybe they were coming from Coney Island. Hey, that's what we're gonna say.
Okay, so you wear lingerie in Coney Island? That's normal at 11 o'clock in the morning?
Listen, is Brooklyn in the house without a doubt? I don't know what they do.
Good cop out. I respect that. Good because like, yeah, Brooklyn. All right. Last one coming up. Here we go.
Making it jump, trap house rocking, I'm making it jump. Tap in the back, yeah, I'm making a plump. We could have op at the bump. Big dope bitch put a op in the blunt.
As you saw, that made you laugh. Like I said, this is weird. I just saw it. Like,
that is so funny.
And again, we see that normally all the time, just like pumping the pump. So I just wanted to put that out there. Would you stop and like just say hi to an animal who's like pumping iron? I would.
I wouldn't. New York animals are different. I'm good.
Yeah, that's like a size of little chihuahua. He's like, well, they could be violent too. Fucking ankle biters. They are ankle biters. Now, final thoughts on New York as a movie, because again, this is a nice little short thing, which I love doing.
So crazy. New York is a movie. I saw a clip earlier this week of a guy falling asleep on a bus stop, and a rat came out and started eating something out of his mouth. So that's how crazy New York is, and someone was able to capture that. So it is a movie. If you just look around and see, you're going to see something crazy.
Thank you for reminding me. Honorable mentions, sorry. So a homeless man in New York just opened up the metal drains, the square ones, not the circular ones, and right on the sidewalk, and he just went inside. And then while doing that, a rat went right behind him. I'm like,
oh God.
He was going home. I was like, I'm going someplace warm. I'm like, oh, okay. And that just reminded me of the movie Scrooge with Bill Murray. Shout out to Bill Murray. My thoughts on this is that I'll see New York soon, and one day soon I'll go see South Philly or North Philly and just see all the craziness that happens daily. And I'm going to record it on my channel, Breaking Reactions. Hit that like and enjoy the madness. Now, since we're kind of rounding up, it's time, since I skipped last week, Stories of Coquito. Now, this one's going to be a little emotional because this comes from the heart. This is not a story of when I got shot. This is not a story of when I got stabbed multiple times by an ex-girlfriend. This is not a story of when I've got run over by a car. This is not a story of none of those things. This is a story from the heart. Those come later in life. I, as people know, have 56 girlfriends, had in my life. I, as you know, am a male hoe in most places, in most states in America and around the world, somewhere in Australia as well. I just got my 1 year anniversary with my girlfriend Cardala, who's watching my show right now. Love you, baby. And I never felt so scared in my life, ever. And again, I just mentioned that I got shot, stabbed, and also I got thrown off a 2-story building. But not as scared as being with a woman that understands me and wants to be with me every day. It's very scary. And I try to tell her that today, and she's like, no, I'm just, like, saying this now to possibly thousands in the future. Fear can be beneficial, maddening, damning, hopeful, and just from 4 letters, fear, F-E-A-R. And I want to embrace the fear. So I tell people what this story is. The story is that I'm 41 years old, And for the first time ever in my life, other than the time when I was 22, I'm taking that leap of fear and opening my eyes and going forward because of the fact that I don't want to have regret. Ladies and gentlemen, my channel is gone. My first channel is gone. And then people are like, "Oh, are you sad?" I'm like, and I tell them and myself, no, because in the midst of making a channel, I made 9 other things. In the midst of making something that meant for one thing, I met Laren Gaines, Onyx Blade, Misfit Nation, Kevin Cruz, the Los Boxing, every single person that I met, and they've had my back since. John Bones, Jamie, Chepo. And every morning I wake up and see the sun. But now I have the chance to see the sun with my girlfriend that might and will turn into my wife in 2 years if the gods permit us. So fear can be beneficial, damning, scary, and all that jazz. But damn it, doesn't it mean good to be alive? That was Stories of Coquito.
I gotta give it up to you. Because yeah, we have to conquer fear. We have to tackle it because God didn't give us a spirit of fear. So always remember that whenever fear comes, that's coming from the opposite side. So you got to attack it and kill it and destroy it before it tries to go ahead and attack and kill and destroy you.
That's right. Again, everyone is watching. You have to realize, like, you can get knocked down. You can get hit literally by a car. You can lose everything. You can lose all your money. You can lose your own sense of self. But that's a moment that does not stay with you forever unless you keep it in your heart forever. That's the big difference. That shout out to Pooh Bear, love you wherever you are, taught me that. Fear, love, hate, hope, malice, pain is all an emotion that will go away as the time keeps ticking. And I'm not being Seal. Shout out to Seal. Love you. Final thoughts on this episode, Miss Laren Gaines?
Wow, we went through an emotional roller coaster, and I like the way you did it. We did the heavy stuff first, and then you picked it up with the New York, and then we give it just this nice sandwich at the end of love. So that's it. Love conquers fear. Remember that. I know people out there say that fear is more powerful than love, but absolutely not. Look at all of the love you got going on here. So, yeah.
I know. And final thoughts for me is that I love this format that we're doing. We have maybe 1 or 2 more episodes left until we do the hiatus. Miss Laren Gaines is coming back on Instagram and on YouTube, going back on in the talk show business. And I'm going to be there supporting him 100%. So we will tell you soon what the topics will be. We will tell you how many episodes we have left. But again, this is not a hiatus for a goodbye. This is just a hiatus for
until next time. We always get bigger and better.
Exactly. Stay healthy. Stay happy. I had a phrase that I thought about earlier, but I forgot about it. Oh yeah, now I remember. Welcome all. Welcome son. Sorry about that. Welcome all. Welcome some. Welcome everybody, or welcome none. But at least be welcomed. Good night, everybody. Midnight Vibes is about. I cannot find it for some weird reason. Here it is. I'm going to the old one. Screw it. Let's go.
Mr. Marvel.